Hello and welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Recently you may have seen me talking about games that let you rewrite World War II, delve into dark dungeons to fight mighty dragons, or sneak through bustling streets to mug the wealthy citizens. That's all well and good, but I bet you've all been thinking, when the heck is this guy going to talk about Scrabble? Well, today I guess. But not any Scrabble, Pokemon Scrabble. And there is a very good reason for why I'm talking about Pokemon Scrabble. Against all the odds, somehow, it's okay. And I know a lot of you will be reaching for the skip button right now, but please give me a minute to explain. If you often have gatherings with people who don't play hobby games, who would never dream of playing Hero Quest or Pandemic or even Settlers of Catan, but who are fond of a game of Scrabble, Boggle, Monopoly or, God forbid, Trivial Pursuit, you may want to hear this. This is Pokemon Scrabble. It's from Mattel Games, publishers of such classics as Uno and Pictionary. This copy belongs to my daughter as she is nuts for Pokemon. Look at that cute cover art. It's Pikachu! Now, this is not the first classic game with a pop culture reskin to slide onto the shelf in my house. There is already Mario Kart Monopoly, and Lord of the Rings Monopoly, and Nightmare Before Christmas Cluedo, and I suppose even Warhammer 40,000 Risks sort of fits the category. But this is the only example of such a game that I have seen that really takes the opportunity to do something new with the theme, and actually succeeds at it. Pokemon Scrabble has a double-sided board because it features two ways to play. Naturally, you can play classic Scrabble. I am not going to explain how to play Scrabble. I will assume you all have at least some concept of the word-building tile-laying game. But I will say this, I do not like Scrabble. I understand why many people do, but it's never been a game that appeals to me. I suppose I should like it, I am a writer, I play with words for a living, but I don't really love words. What I love is the creativity that spawns from words. Jokes, puns, stories. But you don't get that kind of creativity with Scrabble, you just get words. But it is more than that. There's too much luck. If you draw bad tiles, you're stuffed. It's a difficult game for families to play together. Children are less likely to have the vocabulary to compete with adults. Knowledge is more important than skill, and it's difficult to balance the game so that everyone has a chance of being competitive. And you don't even have any dragons to fight. I am a sucker for a good theme, even if it's just a veneer pasted over the game's mechanisms. I like pretty artwork and the idea that you are building some kind of narrative. It's ironic that a game like Scrabble, a game all about words, has no story to tell. All that said, Scrabble is good for developing word skills, improving spelling, developing social skills around the table, and encouraging a love of the English language, and those are all commendable traits. What Pokemon Scrabble does is take all of those good things and repackage them in a way that negates all of the bad things. It turns the game into a cooperative experience, where everyone works together and where the shortest, simplest words can be just as important for your overall success as long words. It also trades out scoring points for a much simpler win-lose condition. To get started, flip the board to the Pokemon Scrabble side and place the 6 helper cards nearby. These helper cards are accessible to all players and will, well, help you to win the game. Next, you need to form a deck of 20 challenge cards. Each challenge card presents, rather unsurprisingly, a challenge. For example, play a word containing 2 or more of the same letter, or play a word that does not contain A or E. 20 cards in the 50 card challenge deck are marked with Pokeball symbols. These are easy challenges and recommended for your first game. Once you know what you are doing, you deal out 20 of the regular difficulty cards, and then, when you think you are a Pokemon Master Trainer, you can swap in 1 or more of the legendary or mythic challenges. Any cards you don't use are returned to the box. Once you have your deck of challenge cards, you reveal the top 3 cards and place them by the board. Then each player draws 7 letter tiles from the rather nice Pokemon themed drawstring bag and places them on their tile rack. As this is a cooperative game mode, players can decide among themselves who goes first, based on the letters they drew and the challenge cards presented. On a player's turn, they can use their letters to play any word onto the board. The word must be in the dictionary, or must be related to Pokemon, such as the name of a Pokemon, region, or trainer. However, the first word played must be positioned so one tile is on the board's central Pokeball square, and any word played must complete one of the challenge cards. If at any point a player cannot play a word that completes a challenge, then it's game over, everybody loses. Unless, that is, they can use a helper card. Each of the helper cards can be used once per game, granting a special ability that will keep your hopes alive. The Master Ball lets you complete any one challenge card without playing a word. The Tomato Berry lets you exchange any number of your tiles with any number of randomly drawn tiles from the bag. The Oran Berry lets each player draw one tile from the bag, so they will have 8 each. However, after playing tiles and it's time to draw back up, they are only allowed to draw back up to 7 as normal. The Ditto card lets you flip any one of the tiles on your rack to the blank side, so it becomes a wild card that you can use as any letter. The Pecha Berry lets you put all of the current challenge cards on the bottom of the challenge deck. You then draw 3 new challenge cards. And the Citrus Berry lets all of the players at the table freely swap tiles, so if between you all you have the letters to make a great word, you can combine forces by transferring all of those letters to the current player. Just make sure you don't end up taking so much rubbish in exchange that you can't complete a challenge on your own turn. Having played a helper card, that card is discarded for the rest of the game, and then the current player has a choice. If they can now play a word to complete a challenge, they can do so. Otherwise, they are allowed to pass and play continues with the next player. If a player does complete a challenge, that challenge card is discarded and a new one is drawn to replace it. It is even possible to complete multiple challenges by meeting the requirements of 2 or even all 3 of the currently revealed challenges at the same time. For example, if I was to play the word for, F-O-U-R, in a horizontal position on the board, I would be able to capture Natu, Snorlax and Magikarp all at the same time. After completing a challenge, a player draws back up to 7 tiles from the draw bag and the next player takes their turn. Play continues in this manner until the team has completed all 20 challenges and win the game, or someone fails to complete a challenge and there are no helper cards left, in which case the game is lost. And I really like this. For what this game is trying to do, it does it all really well. Making the game cooperative is a smart move, because now everybody can help younger children or players who don't have an extensive vocabulary. And allowing the use of Pokemon themed words helps even more, because young fans of the franchise will have access to a whole second dictionary of nonsense words that other players at the table might not know. The helper cards are a brilliant addition. They add a whole new dynamic in the form of a shared limited resource, a set of one-use special powers that not only let you mitigate bad luck in your tile pools, but also give you a chance to skip your turn if you are really stuck or the next player in line has a great word and you don't want to mess things up for them. It's a very gamey element. It gives hobby gamers who may not normally enjoy Scrabble a mechanism to latch onto that will be more familiar to them. And it's really nice how the designers tried to theme the helper cards. The Master Ball lets you catch any Pokemon. Ditto lets one of your letters turn into any other letter. That sort of thing is cute. The challenge cards also do away with the idea of scoring points, which means you don't need to focus on making the longest, most sophisticated words possible. And that again makes the game more accessible to anyone who is still developing their language skills. You can complete many of the challenges with a 3 or 4 letter word just as easily as you can with a 7 letter word. It really doesn't matter what you put down as long as you complete one of those challenges. That means younger players are going to feel like they are contributing just as much, making just as many valid plays as everybody else, and they will have the confidence boosting feeling of choosing words to play without assistance. And of course, each of the challenge cards is themed. You have a unique Pokemon on every card to reflect which of the weird little beasties you are trying to catch. And I like how again some effort has been made to link the challenge to the name of the Pokemon. Wooloo requires a word containing 2 of the same vowel. Mimikyu requires a word containing 2 of the same consonant. Umbreon requires a word containing at least 3 vowels, and so on. Overall, I think this is pretty good. This takes a classic game and puts a significantly different new spin on it. It changes the format, adds decision points, and smooths out many of my complaints about Scrabble. Of course, it's still a word game, and if you don't like word games, this isn't suddenly going to sell you on the whole idea. And I'm not likely to introduce this to my dungeon plunging game group, but I do think this is a good way of incorporating a theme to do something new with a well-established game design. It could have been a shameless cash grab, a few images of Pikachu on a regular Scrabble set. It's Pikachu! But this isn't that. And that is all I've got to say about that. If you stuck it out to this part of the video, thank you so much for watching. I'm sure it won't be long until we are back in a dungeon. And as always, if you liked the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you really like the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I will see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.